Okay, hello everybody. I'm at home today. I'm planning to go back. I was in school all day yesterday. We had good turnout yesterday for people needing to catch up on some work. We had about 8 or 9 people come in, and the lab was nice. I was in there working most of the day, and we had a Christmas tree set up and some Charlie Brown Christmas music playing while working on some work. So if any of you ever need to catch up, that's always a good thing to do. Mondays and Wednesday, I'll be there next week. I'm going in tomorrow. I don't really promote Friday for that, but if you want to come in, just let me know. Just double check in case I change my mind. Don't go in. But for sure, Monday and Wednesday, I'll be there all day. Okay. Okay. So for today, I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, if you haven't done so already, put a hello or hi or you know, greeting in the chat. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share a screen here. We're first going to take a look at what we're doing and where we're at. So,
He really is lightweight.
what now? Whoops. I'm trying to open up. Oh, this one here. Okay. Open up the wrong one. Okay. We're at computer literacy. Now, this time slot's officially for fourth block, but anyone's welcome, second block, virtual students. So I did one at 9:30 this morning, and I'll put that recording up. And I'm doing this one here now at noon. Okay, so what's going on here? Just to review here very briefly, you should have your Amazon assignment in already. Today's the Facebook dilemma. We're only doing part one for the assignment. There is a part two. I strongly recommend watching the part two. It's really interesting what's going on there with Facebook and our current. It's been heavily in the news this year and the last few years about how these big social media platforms like Facebook are they're center of so much information that they also get a lot of blame and criticism because of all the misinformation out there, or bad information, or bad people and bad groups that are on them, such as hate groups and stuff like that. So, part of their dilemma is on the one hand, they want to have a relatively open platform, kind of like in our democracy, we say we want freedom of speech and freedom of thought. But on the other hand, are there limits to that? Are there things that shouldn't be allowed? Now they're a private company; they're not the U.S. government, so they can restrict however they want to. And of course, the more they restrict, then there might be some people who get upset and quit going on their platform. So, and then of course they're getting a lot of political criticism and whether there should be government regulation of things like Facebook and Twitter and other places. So that's big news right now, and it's a really interesting documentary. The 20 useful websites, that's not due till tomorrow. That's an easy assignment. You just list them, briefly explain them, and let me know which are some of your favorites of that list. And hopefully, there'll be some useful ones on there. But the main thing we're doing today is pretty much wrapping up Excel. The only thing I'm planning to carry into next week for Excel is we'll do a post test. Remember, we did a little pre test. And if you haven't done the pre-test, you're supposed to do it as if you never had Excel with me this semester. So you're supposed to answer the questions of what you would have known going into this class before we did any Excel. Now, on the pre-test, you can answer questions with I don't know, or you can abbreviate IDK, and that's okay if you truly did not know. And now, if you take it now after covering a bunch of Excel, you're supposed to do it as if you had had any Excel with me. Now, if you had learned Excel before with someone else, by all means, you can do that. But you get the 20 points either way. If you get zero correct or you get 20 correct, you get the same 20 points. Now, the post test will be worth some more points and you will have to get them right, but you will be able to look things up and I'll talk about that and make sure I cover everything that's on there. So that won't be a problem. But this is our last regular workbook. So what were you supposed to do on here? There's a couple of options. One option, and then for this option, you don't have to be here today for. You open up this PDF. You make a brand new Excel workbook. You can name it Book 3. You can name it Charting. Either one would be fine. And on one sheet, you put this information. Of course, you don't put my little notes like this that are down here. And then on the second sheet, you put this information for Amazon sales and billions. And again, you don't need to put my note on there. On the third sheet, you do this tree seedlings. And again, you don't need my little note there. And then on this last one here, this is basically the budget we made before. It may have slightly different numbers in it, but you need this here on the fourth sheet. And you don't need my little note there. Okay, now today we're only going to go over the first two, but that's where you get your data for the 4 sheets. Now, the way I had it set up, and I originally set this up last spring, is you start with my video right here, and the beginning part helps you set up your worksheet or your workbook. And then I literally stop and pause it and say, pause here, and now go to this one here. And this will show you how to do the first chart that we're doing today. Then you come back to here and you watch me a little bit more, and then I tell you to pause it and go to this one to do the second and the third chart. Okay, and then you come back to me, and then I do the last one in here. So it might seem a little confusing, but it really isn't. Once you start watching this video, this will make sense. And these are really nice videos made by other people. So that's one way to learn this. The other way is to be here today. So if you're here today, then what we're going to do here, I'm going to switch my screens I'm sharing. I'm going to go to a different one. And I have Excel open. Okay. So here I am with the Excel workbook, and everyone by now should well know that the document's called a workbook. And then there are different sheets here. And these are called worksheets or spreadsheets. The same term means the same thing. Okay. So what am I going to do here? We're going to start here on the first one. If yours still says the default sheet one, double click it, and you can either rename it down here. You should be using the full version of Excel. I find that works best. And we can name this first one game sales. Now I have my Excel right now. I redid my computer settings to put everything in dark mode. So if you wonder why mine looks dark, it's because I selected dark mode. I'm on a Mac, which looks a little bit different than the Windows. Not much. I looked at the Windows version. The Mac has this draw option up here, and it has an Acrobat option there. They don't have that, I don't think, on the Windows version. But other than that, it's pretty much all the same. Now, this particular worksheet here, I actually took from a student's file last year, and I do that often. I'll take a student file, primarily, and oftentimes I have ones that I've made myself, but I'll take one of theirs because usually there's some imperfections in it, which are okay, and then I can use that to demonstrate some fixes. Okay, so for example, this student here decided when they typed in over here, these are games that are being sold by a business. And they decided this is going to require some extra space. So then they skipped all the way up to column D to start putting in their other data. That's not necessarily bad. Actually, if I were going to keep it this way, I would just simply move this over so it's a little bit closer. Okay, but you don't need to do it that way. What I think is a better way to do it is right now it looks like this is in 2 columns. It's really all in column A. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to drag this out and make it wide enough so everything can fit in column A. Now I don't no longer need column B or column C. So what can I do? Very simple. I go to the top, I do a right click, and I delete. Then I go to the top again for this one, do a right click, and I delete. Now each time I did that, it renamed all the columns after it. So when I deleted a B, then what used to be C became B, and so forth. Now I like to center things, and I don't do that with currency, but I'll do that with other information. So I'm just going to center all that right there. And I click center, but it did not center. That's kind of weird. Okay. There it goes. Okay. Just being a little bit quirky today. Okay, so the first thing you start with any sheet after you type in your data and organize it and format it. If you want to make something like this in bold, you can make it in bold. You can give it a color, make it look a little more interesting. I give it a blue. Okay, so we got game sales. So this is a, excuse me here, this is a business that sells like board games like Boggle and Code Names and so forth. and they have data here of their sales of how many of which game they sold in which month between January and June. So even though this here is data, it doesn't visually that easy to figure out what was selling when. I mean, if you really stop and dig around, you can try to figure it out, but it'd be a lot better to have a nice chart or graph. And you're going to hear me sometimes say chart, sometimes say graph. Some of them are called charts, some are called graphs, but I think you know where I'm talking about. So here's the thing is I'm going to purposely I could just take you straight to the steps of what works, and you could follow me and click, click, click. And oh, I did the same thing Mr. Rio just did. And you, quite frankly, won't learn really anything. Okay. What I want you to do is do some trial and error. So we're going to do a little trial and error. I'm going to purposely try some things that may or may not work. And if they don't work, that's okay, because that's part of doing charting. So first, I'm going to start out by selecting all of the data. And I know I'll tell you up front right now, this won't work, and you'll see why. But I'm going to pretend that I'm not sure what to do. So I'm going to do all the data. Now, where are the charts? You go to the insert menu and you'll see the charts grouped here in the middle. And then also, if you have an insert menu up above here, you can go there, and they got charts there, and they got them listed there too. Okay, a couple ways you can get to your charts. Now, there's different types of charts. There is the column charts, and there's options right there. Okay, there are line charts, and there's options right there. There's pie charts. And up here, there is the, what we call it, histogram. And there are whatever that is, and scatter. And I won't go into all of it. There's a couple other options here. But the most common ones we use are column, and the ones down below here are bar. The difference between column and bar is what direction they go. A bar chart goes from left to right, and a column chart goes up and down. Okay, so we're going to be covering column charts, line charts, and pie charts between today and tomorrow. So let's say, for the sake of argument, for the first one, I'm going to go to line, and I'm going to go to the first one and click, and it creates a chart. Okay, wow. I have students do this kind of stuff and say, Mr. Rio, look, I made a chart. Isn't that awesome? Okay, sometime yes, sometime no. It depends on if it worked. Might say, Mr. Whoop, something weird happened here. There we go. Okay. So you might say, Mr. Rio, what makes a chart work or not? Well, you have to stop and think through it logically. Now I'm taking a look here, and we have, these are our units sold, even though we don't have it labeled. This is January all by itself over here, whatever that means. And then we got Boggle, and then we got code names and this, and we have game sales. It got some colors, but it doesn't tell us what the colors are, like what does red mean, what does green mean, and so forth. And then we got items sold per month here. This makes no sense. This is not a chart that's really doing what I want it to do. So what do you do in this case? Well, you click on your chart. It's already selected, and you press the delete key, and you start over. Okay, now what we're going to do this time is I'm going to select everything but the bottom row. So these here are items, these are totals. So this is quite a bit different type of data than units sold. Okay, so we're going to select everything but that. Now this time, instead of going straight to the line chart, I'm going to go to an option called recommended charts. It's right here in the middle. It says recommended charts, got a little question mark. And I'm going to click that and see what it says. Now it's showing me this here. Now I'm going to click this. Okay, that's showing some colors, and they're basing it on month, and it's going sideways. And is it usable? Sorta. You know, it wouldn't be ideal to me. If I look at that, I'm more confused than anything. So that is, again, not really doing it. Okay. And that's okay. That's how charting is. If you're doing this all by yourself and no one's telling you step by step and you're trying to figure it out, you should be doing this kind of stuff, you know, saying what works, what doesn't, and so forth. Okay. I'm going to click this here and delete it. Okay, this time I'm going to select everything. I'm going to ignore game sales. I'm going to ignore the bottom row. And I'm going to go to insert, and I'm going to go to line chart, and I'm going to select the first one. Okay, what do we got here? we have, well, we need to put in a chart title. So I'm going to double click here and type game sales. Okay, I'm going to deselect. Now, normally I would have this down below here, but because my screen's a little tight here to show you, I'm going to bring it up here on top. Now, let's see if this makes sense. We have numbers here, which we can label this. These are B units sold. We have a key here that this is by months. And then we got the color chart going up. Okay. And when we look at this, it's like, that's looking pretty interesting. I think this one works. Okay. I can take a quick look at Boggle and I can see Boggle's best month looks to be February. I can see code names and looks like they did really good in January. And they also did quite good in April and so on. Okay. This looks pretty good. The only thing I would add to this would be putting a title over here saying what this is. So how do you do that? With this selected, I go up here to something called add chart element. Now you might say, what are you going to add something there, Mr. Rio? Yes, I'm going to add a title. So I go to chart. I want to access title. See, I got access. You can have horizontal or vertical. This is the vertical. So we're going to go access title, vertical. It puts a little, text box there. I double click it. It's kind of weird because it's kind of like sideways, but I'm going to put unit sold. Okay, and deselect. Now that looks really good. I got my units sold are clearly marked. My games are clearly marked. The months are color coded. It's got game sales at the top. I think that's going to work really good. The last thing I'm going to show you on this one is you can quickly change the way it looks. See up here, you have a whole bunch of options. I can click that. Okay, and I might say, okay, that's a little different. It's quite a lot different. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I could try this one. Some of these you might need to spread a little bigger to get to look good, and so on. You have all these options up here. Here's one that looks like that. Some of them include numbers. And I here's the thing is, you realize in this class we're just touching the introduction on these topics. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of features. There's a lot of things you can do. A lot of customization. You can do custom backgrounds and all kinds of stuff in here. But I just want you to get a feel for the basics. Now, I just went back here to the first one. Now, the main thing that has changed is to put in these numbers. Okay. That's the one thing I don't like. I can see here visually that this one is up to almost 70. I don't need 69 on top of that. I think that doesn't look good at all. So I might say, how do you change that there, Mr. Rio? What we're going to do here is we're going to go to, remember that chart elements? Okay, they have something called data labels. And right now, this one's called inside end, where it puts the little number at the top of each one. Now, it said, looks like it says add. It says, Mr. Rio, you just went to add stuff. Well, you can also take away. So on this one here for data labels, I'm going to go to none, and it's going to take out those numbers that I don't want. Okay. Now I think this looks really good. Kind of back to where we started. Okay. And you can just leave the chart here, just move it underneath would be a good place to put it. Now, let's say you made this chart. Now it's like, okay, I need it for a PowerPoint. I need it for something I'm typing up in Word. No problem. One easy way to do it is to click on the chart, just do a simple copy, okay, or Command C on a Mac or Control C on a Windows, and then open up your PowerPoint, open up your Word document, and paste it in there. There are some other ways you can export and share charts, but that's probably the easiest. Okay, so there's one done. Okay, if you had your data and you did that, if you didn't do it yet, if you're just watching, that's okay. You can go back and watch later. And once you start trying this out, it's a little bit tricky at first, no doubt about it. But the more you do it, the better you get. And if you mess up a graph or a chart, don't, I do this. I've done this a million times. You just click on it, hit delete, and make a new one. Okay. And remember, it's always under insert menu. Okay. So there's one done. So we're going to go to the next one. I'm going to rename this one here Amazon. Okay, so in the tab here, we got information here. Now, there's not a lot of information here. This doesn't even have calculations or formulas or anything. So a lot of times for charts, you start out just putting down basic information. And in this case, we have Amazon sales by year. So Amazon, and it also says revenue in billions. So we got 2009 to 2019 and what the revenue is by billions per year. Now, in this case here, we're going to select all of the data. And now, again, if you'd had no idea what's going to work or what's not going to work, that's where you just try it out. That's the best thing I can encourage you to do. You just say, okay, I'm not sure what to select. What if I select all of it? That's often where I start. I select everything I think might be usable. And if there's something that obviously you don't want in there, like if there's some totals or something at the end, I might leave that off. Now I'm going to click on insert. Now, like I mentioned, I may have mentioned this already, but there's something called recommended charts. So I'm just going to click that button and see what it does. So it brings up some options. Do I want something like this, showing me sales are going up? Do I want something like this, showing me sales are going up? Do I want something like this, showing me sales are going up? Now, on quick glance, it looks like all three of them look fine. This one here would be a column type chart, or this is clustered column. This one's a line chart. You can see line underneath it. And this next one here is called a scatter chart. Looks kind of like a line chart, but it's called a scatter chart. I'm going to do the top one, which is line chart, because we're doing line charts right now. So I click on that, and there's a start. We have sales and billions. Just a second. I don't know why I did that. Okay, now it turns out I see there's a little typo here. I'm going to select the, I don't know, revenues in here twice, one of which is misspelled. So I'm going to delete that. Now, one thing that would be nice to have here is, even though this says Amazon annual sale revenue in billions, it doesn't say billions labeled over here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to add chart element over here. And this is something I do a lot. I'm going to go to access. Access, if you remember from math class, would be like, you know, the up and down or sideways for the chart And I'm going to do the primary vertical. And there, put in the little title. And I'm just simply going to put billions. I'll put billions of dollars. Okay, so we got billions of dollars. So now this is clear, even though you could probably figure it out looking at the title up here. Now that I've done this, I don't really need it up here. So I could probably take this out, put Amazon sales from 2009 to 2019. And this would be in billions because it'd be hard to write the numbers on here for billions. Okay. So that I think looks pretty good and pretty clear. Now, like I said, normally I'd move it away from there, but because I don't have a lot of room on here, I'll put it there for now. Again, this could be copied and pasted into PowerPoint or Word or wherever you want to use it. Again, you can click up here and try out some different layouts. Now, some of these layouts do things like add those numbers in there. Okay. And just like I did already, I want to remove, I don't want these numbers right there. I think it kind of makes it confusing. I'll go to this one here, for example. Okay, I don't really like that one either. Okay, this one's, okay, I'll do this one just for sake of argument. I'm going to do this one, but I want to get rid of those data labels. So I click on it, then with my chart selected, okay, I go up here to add elements, but we can also remove elements from the same chart. And I'm going to go to data labels. And right now it says inside end, and I'm going to go up to none. And that gets rid of those data labels. Okay. And again, if you looked at it and said, no, that's not the one I want, you can click around here and go to a different one. I kind of like going back just to this one right here. Now, if you want to do a little custom editing, they got format chart area. Let's see, here's a little bit. I could do a gradient fill like that, and I could pick colors and stuff. I could do a pattern fill. I could do a solid fill. I'd have to do some more editing for that one. Okay, I'm going to leave on the gradient fill. So that would be the second one. This is a line chart. It's clearly labeled. It looks pretty good. I use the recommended option to help me pick it out. I could have went straight to line charts if I thought that's what I wanted. And that to me makes sense. So it's a nice visual representation. I'll actually remove the fill. I removed all the fill. I didn't want a solid fill. No, there's some in here. What do I want? I'll do a gray. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, so that is charting. And like I said, I can't emphasize enough when you're not sure what to do, try to imagine what you like it to look like, select data, and just start trying. It doesn't hurt anything to try. You can always delete. And then when you end up with something that makes some sense. Now, I've had students many a time make a chart that makes no sense whatsoever. It was because of the data they selected, or the type of chart might not work for that type of data. That's why you have all these options. Tomorrow we'll do another line chart, the third one, and then we'll do the pie chart. So that's pretty much what the plan is. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. This here recording will be posted. So if you want to go come back to this later, if you didn't do it right now, that's okay. You can always go to those other tutorials, and they're good too, that I have on the class. Okay, I'm back here. Was that okay for everybody? If you haven't done so already, put a hello or hi in the chat. Yeah, so we're wrapping up Excel mostly today and tomorrow, and we will just have a little post-test next week based on our pre-test. So it's pretty easy. It's going to be some formulas and functions. You don't even have to make an actual Excel spreadsheet for it. And that's mainly so I can collect some data. They want us to collect some data that you guys learned something. So that's why your pre-test, you probably didn't know a whole lot about Excel, most people. And your post-test, hopefully you'll know that. And I'll be reviewing that, talking about that next week. We'll have a few more internet topics next week. Then we have 2 weeks off. Now, for those that are behind, it's a golden opportunity to catch up. And then we come back, it's going to go real fast. It'll be less than 2 weeks or thereabout. And we'll be wrapping up and moving on to other stuff. Okay. Okay. So Abby, Masson, Maya, Luke, Tamara, Tyler, Faith Odell. Great to have you join me today. And I'm probably going to be at school tomorrow. So if you're interested in coming in, contact me. I don't usually promote Fridays if I decide to go in, or Thursdays. I didn't go in today, but I'm probably going to go in tomorrow. So do touch base with me if you're interested in coming in. Monday and Wednesday for sure. So if you want to come in, it's a great opportunity to catch up and get some help if you need it. Okay, everyone, have a great day. Nice to see you. Take care. If you want to say goodbye, either on camera or in the chat, that's okay too. Yep. Take care, Tamara. She put in the chat, may have a nice afternoon. Okay. It should be nice weather out there. Go enjoy it a little bit. Tyler, be in touch as you catch up. Okay. Take care. Special guest must have went and took a nap.